Right, the current time is 23:01, 11 p.m, which means it's absolutely the perfect time to test and try out my ball for the 2026 season. We're going to test these on 60-degree pitch and wedge, 7-iron, wood, and driver. But here's the catch. To make this easier, due to the fact that I've got 7 golf balls and 5 categories, I've set a data measurement for each competition. So for 60 degree, it is spin and dispersion. For pitching wedge, it is consistency of distance. For 7-iron, it is peak height and curvature. For utility wood, it is lack of curvature or consistency of the same curvature. And for driver, it is ball speed and dispersion. For each round, there will be a clear loser, which means that ball will be knocked out and will not be tested for the rest of the analysis. And we will end up with 2 balls, which I think is fair because a lot of this relies on how well I can hit the ball at 2 a.m. So to get straight into this, for each test, each ball had 10 excellent swings. And for any swings such as this or this, were not counted to make the test as fair and even as possible. For the wedges, we are testing 60-degree wedge shot, roughly 90 to 95 yards at a 90% swing. First, let's talk about spin. So the highest spinning ball in the entire test was the Pro V1X. No real shock there, averaging 11,435 RPMs with a top out of 12k plus. On paper, that sounds perfect for stopping power, but there was a massive trade-off. Its average dispersion was about 9 feet, which meant that the ball moved more offline than several others. So whilst it spun the most, it wasn't actually the most precise. But more surprising actually here was how little the TP5 span, having an average spin of just 10.4 and the lowest spin produced of the entire test of 9,800 revolutions. Now let's talk about dispersion. The tightest dispersion of the entire test came from the Strixon Z-Star XV, averaging just 5 feet from the target on average. This still came very strong spin at 10,595 revs per minute, never recording below 10,000 revs and reaching above 11,000 more than once, which means it combined excellent stopping power with better directional control. But there was a couple of surprises again. The Wilson Staff Model X actually produced extremely high spin at over 11,100 revs per minute. However, the dispersion stretched out to about 9.3 feet, which pushed it down the ranking quite a bit. And the Pro V1X Left Dash, which is actually designed to be a lower spinning ball, delivered a solid amount of spin with slightly less predictable control than some of the softer models. Using AI, we developed a scoring system to rank the combinative effect between spin and dispersion. And in this test from 100 yards, the most complete performer was the Titleist Pro V1, yielding the highest combinative score of 1.93 between both average dispersion and spin, beating the Strixon Z-Star XV by only an incredible 0.01. A bit like the world golf rankings between Scotty and Rory, first and second were miles ahead of the pack, and an early shine for the Strixon Z-Star XV, a ball I hadn't really thought would make it up until now. First ball to go is the TaylorMade TP5, as it spanned the least consistently and had the widest dispersion across the 7 balls.